Okay, everyone, I think we're live. So I want to experiment today with YouTube live streaming. And this is the first time I've ever done a live stream. And so you'll have to bear with me if I make a couple of verbal errors or mistakes. I'd like to use this opportunity to talk about Adobe Experience Manager. And so most of you have been viewing my YouTube channel for a number of years know that I'm all about using Adobe LiveCycle Designer. And that has now been rebranded by Adobe into Adobe Experience Manager, or for short AEM. And so I've downloaded the latest version called AEM Designer, and this is apples to apples equivalent of Adobe LiveCycle Designer. It's not the server version. It's not the version you get when you purchase Adobe LiveCycle server from Adobe for thousands upon thousands of dollars. It's basically the equivalent of the $399 Adobe LiveCycle ES4 that came out a couple of years ago. And this would be the next version after that. And for right now, interestingly enough, it is available free from Adobe. And so I wanted to show you a website adobe.com/devnet/livecycle.html. That's the URL of where I'm going here. And today, as far as the last 6 months are concerned, you can get a free version of AEM Designer with this link right here. And so no sense in paying, if you don't have LiveCycle yet, no sense in paying $400 to get ES4, which would be a depreciated version at this point. Here's a full version of AEM Designer 6.1, and there is the license key, and I can attest to the fact that it's a full version of AEM. I've been using it about 6 months now. So I encourage everybody out there to go get that first, download it, install it. Now you can't have two versions of LiveCycle on your computer at the same time, so once you download this, you need to use it exclusively. But there you go, that's free. And so just a few of the changes that they've made. Obviously there's a better stability. ES3, ES4 were very unstable when they first came out, and there was a service pack. If you noticed on that web page there was a service pack that actually made it a little bit more stable. But a lot of times in the middle of developing a form, I would get if I previewed a form, I would get a crash, an app crash. LiveCycle is closed, or LiveCycle is not responding, like this right here. And you'd have to close the program and then completely reopen it. That doesn't happen as much in Designer, but as you just saw, it does happen a little bit. So first thing is go get that. Second thing, just a few of the changes. There's also a couple of new objects like signature scribble and date and time fields instead of just date fields. And so now you have the option over here on the binding tab to choose date, time, or date and time. And that alters the kind of patterns you can use. So like these patterns here, if you have a date and time chosen, you can do date and time patterns. Or if you choose one or the other, like date, come down here and now it's just date patterns allowed. And that would be something like that. Those are just a little bit of improvements, but basically it's just stability that's been changing over the last few years. They've made the product more stable, more able to handle some of the JavaScript debugging and crash things that happened in the past. And so here we have a form, and I just want to show you real quick a few things related to AEM. Let's say we're developing a form and we're making, some kind of text field, and in that text field we're going to have some various text. And we want to set the target version of this new form to the latest version of Adobe Reader. If you have ES4, if you have ES3 or ES2 or anything previous versions of Adobe LiveCycle, and you go to File, Form Properties, and then Defaults, your options here are limited to usually 3, but they're either 10 or earlier, 9 or earlier, 7, 6, old versions of Adobe Reader. Now with this new AEM Designer, you can go all the way up to the latest version, which is Adobe Reader DC, or version 12. So that's the latest version that your users are going to have. Your form fillers are going to have the latest versions of Adobe because it's free, obviously. So it would be nice to have a tool where you can make it forward compatible to those versions.